Hello guys, welcome back to the Selenium with Python automation series part 3. In this video we are covering the most crucial aspect of Selenium, which are locators. Locators are of different kinds and they help us to spot and find elements on the web page. In this video we will understand what are the different kinds of locators and how do we use them at different points in time, and which locators to prefer over another in different conditions. But before moving on, make sure guys to subscribe to my channel and also watch the other parts to this series. I'll put all the links to the other parts in the description. So yeah, let's begin. I have moved to my screen. So this is the first code. This is the first script that we created in the last part to load sourcedemo.com, which is the free automation, which is the free site on which we can perform our automation testing. So let's copy this code and let's create a new file, and let's name this file locators, and let's paste this code because this is the starting code to load the web browser and to open sourcedemo.com. And then after this we will use locators to find elements on the web page. So let's wait. Okay, so you can see it has opened and says demo.com has loaded. Alright, so let's understand how do we locate elements on the web page. So for that, press control and right click, and you will see option as an option inspect. So click on that and then you will see the document object model or the HTML code which is used to create this particular web page. So let's say if you want to locate this particular input box which is for username, so what I'll do is I'll click here and then click on this input box. So after I clicked on this input box, you can see that this particular input tag has been highlighted. This means that this is the corresponding location to this input box. Now let's say if we want to click on this button, so we need to find the location for this button. So let's find this the location to this button. So again click on this, click on this button element, and again you can see an element, a tag has been highlighted. So this tag, this input tag, is the location for this button. Now we understood how do we locate different elements on the web page. So let's understand what are the different Selenium locators that we have. So these are all the locators we have available in Selenium. So we can either locate the element by ID, by name, by class name, by tag name, by link tags, partial link tags, CSS selector, and XPath. Let's begin by locating by ID. So for that, let's locate this username input box and let's send keys or values to this input box. For that, click on this, click on the input search box, and you see that this tag has been highlighted. So this is basically the ID. The username is the ID for this location. So just copy this and let's write driver dot find element, and we are using by ID and paste it. So by we have to import from Selenium. So for that, just import. So by is imported from selenium.webdriver.common.by, and after we have located this, so after we find the location by ID, so the ID is username, we need to save the location to a variable. So let's save it to, let's call it username again. So we save it to username, then let's send keys to this particular location. So the location is saved at the variable username, so let's send value to this location. So for that we use username dot send keys. So by the way, these are the accepted usernames which are mentioned on the site and the accepted password for all users. So I'll use this because further I'll also use this password to login. So that's why I'll use one of this option over here for username. So let's type it here and let's run this. So it loaded and it also sent the value standard user to the username input box. So we located the element by ID. So this is by ID. Now let's locate a password box. So for that, click here, click here. So you see that either we can locate it by ID, by class name. This is the class name. Okay, so this is the ID, and let's locate it by name first. So let's locate it by name. So copy this name password, go here. For that, let's write by dot name and driver dot find element by name and paste the value password, and let's also call the variable name as password. And now let's send keys to it like we did before. So word password dot send keys. And what is the accepted password? Let's see. The accepted password is secret sauce. So let's paste it and let's run it. It is loading, so it sent the username and the password. Next, let's cover by CSS selector. I didn't find any link text in this particular site, but I'll cover it later on in this particular video. But now let's select the login button or the submit button by CSS selector. And this class name, you can cover it by yourself. It's just easy. You can just see that this is the ID, this particular is the class name, so you can do it by yourself. And then this is by name. So yeah, this is by ID, again this is by class name, this is by name. So let's cover by CSS selector. By dot CSS selector, by dot CSS selector. So for that, let's locate the button, login button. So this is the login button. So for that, you have to click control plus right click. So you will see an option as copy, and you will see the CSS selector option. So just click on CSS selector, so it's copied. Then write driver dot find element by dot CSS selector, and then paste the value. And then after you have located the login button, now you have to click. So right click. So let's run this. So it sent ID password and then it moved to the next page. Then we have tag names. So basically tag names are these HTML tags, div tag, anchor tag, paragraph tag, body tag, etc. But tag names are usually not unique. As you can see, there are multiple repeating div tags, there are multiple repeating image tags for all these images. So you get multiple locations whenever you are finding by tag names. So let's do one thing. Let's search for all the image tags, and then print all this source attribute or all the URLs for the images. So let's first of all look at all the images and then find all the URLs for all the images. So for that, let's write driver dot find, but in this case we will find elements, not element. So that's why you have to write an S over here. So find elements, since there are multiple elements that we are finding, by tag name, and the tag is the image tag, and let's save it to images variable. So images will basically store multiple locations, and then we will loop through it for image and images, for image and images, let's print image dot get attribute source. So we are basically printing this source attribute for each image. Where is it? 1 second. So this thing, we are printing source for each of the image. So let's run this. Okay, so you can see that it basically went through all the images and it basically printed all the URLs for all the images that we had on this particular web page. So let's click one of the link. Okay, so these are the image URLs. Now we can cover link text. So by dot link text. So for that you can, so link tags are basically anchor tags, right? So for example, let's say we have link tags over here. So just click here and then click on LinkedIn button or the LinkedIn anchor tag. So you see that the anchor tag is selected. And how do we locate it? So basically you have to click this text over here, which is where it's written LinkedIn. So copy this. So basically this text is between the anchor tags, so you can use this to locate this particular link. So for that we will use driver dot find element by dot link text and paste it, and then we can click on this to verify if it's working, then run it. Okay, so all right, so it clicked on the LinkedIn anchor tag. So you can see the LinkedIn is open on the tab. By the way, in link tags you have to remember one thing, that you can only locate the anchor tags which have immediate text between them. For example, you can also question that why didn't we use this is also an anchor tag. But the problem here is that there is an anchor tag but there is no text associated with it. So there is a text between this div tag, so this cannot be used. So if there are anchor tags and then they have a text between them, that means you can use them as link text, but you cannot use this particular text for this anchor tag. So if anchor tag have div tags and other tags between them, you basically use those as link tags. Finally we have by XPath. So XPath is the most powerful and the most flexible in Selenium, and it is mostly used if you have a very complex structure of HTML. And by XPath, let's locate by XPath. So for that what I'll do is I'll click on this add to cart and then I'll view this basket. So let's first locate this add to cart button and right control plus right click, then copy and XPath. So driver dot find element by XPath and paste it. But over here you have to change this. All right, also change this and then dot click, then we will copy paste this again, because now after clicking on add to cart we will click on this button. So let's locate this. This is an anchor tag, so let's copy it by XPath as well. Copy XPath Okay, remove this all. And let's run it. Alright, so as you can see, it added it to cart. So that means XPath is also working. Alright, so we have covered all the locators finally, by ID, by name, by CSS selector, by tag name, by link text, by XPath. So now the thing is, we might be confused at which locator to choose to find an element, right? So basically the strategy that I use is that firstly I go with by ID, because the IDs are the unique within the HTML document. So if you are locating a tag, so if you see if that tag has an attribute ID, so always go with ID first, because IDs are the simplest and are the easiest for Selenium to find and locate. So yeah, always go by ID as the first priority, as the first option. So let's say if I want to locate this add to cart button, right? So you see that it's in button, and you can see that ID attribute is available. So just directly, without thinking anything else, just locate it by just use this ID as the locator. But let's say if this ID attribute is not there, right? So then the second option to consider will be by name. So the second option I would recommend is that go by name, because names are also the simplest to understand, right? But the thing is that sometimes names are also not unique, right? Such as if we have radio buttons or checkboxes which have multiple options to select from, so they are basically grouped under one name. So that means that each of the element under it, that all the child buttons under the checkboxes or under the radio buttons are using the same group name. So in that case, they are sharing the name, so they are not unique. So if you get if you're locating basically radio buttons or checkboxes, so don't go by name. Otherwise you can just go by name. If not ID, then go by name. If you don't see this ID, go by name. If you don't want to go with name, if name is not unique, then either go by CSS selector or go by XPath. So first of all, always locate using ID. If ID is not present, then go by name. If name is not unique, then either go by CSS selector or XPath. So both are the correct options. So there is no right or wrong option amongst CSS selector or XPath. Both are powerful locators in Selenium. CSS selector is basically a combination of, it basically uses a combination of tags, classes, and ID attributes. XPath basically uses path expression to navigate through all the tags and elements to the target location. Well, if you want to make a choice between CSS and XPath, so for example, for complex HTML structures or for a complex web page, you can just go directly with XPath. But if you notice that the backend HTML is changing again and again, then go with CSS selector, because CSS selector is good when you have a non-static web page. So yeah, you can just give a trial and error, and you can choose any one of them, any one between them. But I'll be working with XPath probably throughout this tutorial. First I'll go with ID. If ID is not there, then name, then XPath. That's all right. So to wrap things up, we covered different kinds of locators and we understood their purposes and where and how to use them. And I also told you my personal advice or personal suggestion, like how to choose between different locators. In the next video, we will cover different browser commands, weights, checkboxes, radio buttons, etc. And I encourage you to test these locators by yourself. And I'll also give a link to the site I was testing on in the description. It's a free site, so you can also use it. And if you have any questions, if you need clarification on any of the locators I just explained, so you can comment down below and make sure to subscribe to my channel. See you guys in the next video. Until then, happy testing and coding, and ciao.